me find my notes. Yes. Good evening and welcome to Big People Conversation. If you're not 18 and above, this is not the room for you. This is like long ago. You remember long ago when big people had conversation, little children had to either hide behind the chair or go somewhere where they could not be heard. And so we are now the big people, and we are going to be having big people conversations, clear, respectful conversations that should have been had years before. Tonight we're talking about the stages of coitus. And that just means when you go to have wickedness, remember we used to call it wickedness, how to start, how to continue, and how to end it. So we're actually talking about the stages and phases of sexual intercourse. Good night, Rakesh. We grew up in a culture where anything that had to do with sexual intercourse was not called by its right name. And that is why in our culture, we have names like pancake, loli, lolo, sugar bowl. We have all the other names except the right names for our private parts. And that is because our culture is so shrouded in taboo and what to say and what not to say that even the names, things are not even given their right names. I believe that there should be a class for all men and women when they get to the age of thinking about intercourse. There should be a school or a class explaining to them the phases and stages of coitus and teaching them the art of the game. I don't even want to call it a game or a necessary game, but there is an art to it. And if you do not know and learn the art, somebody else will be using the art on you. Whenever I'm watching your life, I have to stop, eat, and drink. Oh gosh. I guess the big people conversation, right? So, guess what? So, tonight we're talking about that. When you think about sexual intercourse, or the big word we're using tonight, coitus, do you just think about jumping on and jumping off? In our culture, we also have these words, slam dam thank you ma'am, which means that people just go on once they're pleased, once they're satisfied, that's it. It's over. Not understanding that this thing has a clear beginning, a clear middle, and a clear ending. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. And guess what? As soon as you learn this information, implement it in your life. All right. So the first thing we have to understand is that if you're going to have sex, you have to do what is called the building up of excitement. You don't just watch somebody and say, you want some? No, you have to do what is called the building up, the excitement phase. And this excitement phase is referred to as, I have the name here, I wrote it down, foreplay. In the foreplay, both people's job, and notice I'm not saying one person, not the man only or the woman only, both partners, their job is to get the other person aroused and excited so that they can move on. How do you get somebody aroused and excited for the game? The first thing you have to do before you even touch the person is ask them, what do you want? What is your idea of a good time? How would you like to be touched? Because if you don't do that, You will just be going around like if you're walking in a dark room. You remember when we were children and we would close our eyes and go from one place to the next, and somebody would be watching us to see that we're not jamming up to stuff? If you do not have the knowledge, that's how you'll be doing it. You'll be like somebody whose eyes are closed and you're just working with trial and error. This is not an area where you want to work with trial and error. This is an area where you want to make sure that at least you are at the professional status when it comes to sex and coitus. So the first thing is have that conversation with your partner and ask them, you like easy touch? You like hard touch? You like soft touch? You can even practice a little bit. Say, how that feel? That feel good? Touch them. How that feel? That feel good? Because your job is to get the other person excited. So if you don't know what gets them excited, guess what you will do? You will do what you think will get them excited. And some women, because they don't want to embarrass the man or to make him feel inadequate, like if he doesn't know what he's doing, she will not say a word. Some of them will go so far as to fake as if they're enjoying it when they know that the man is not doing even anything to help them to enjoy it. So the first thing is a conversation. Once you have that conversation and the person say, okay, me like this touch, even take a feather. Me not talk about all foul feather. Find a nice clean feather and take that feather and touch the person and ask them, how this feel? How that feel? You like that? The first thing is a conversation. Because if you don't have this conversation, you will not know how to make the other person excited. And that's the first stage. The first stage is the foreplay. Now, when we talk about foreplay, we also have to talk about kissing. Kissing is another way that you can get your partner excited, but you got to know how to kiss. Not just take your tongue and shove it in their mouth. No, that's not the art of kissing. The art of kissing, I mean, even if I can show you right now, it's like, so this is the person there, this is the person face, that in face, okay? And you want this thing to be like a prolonged thing. So suppose this is their mouth and you want to kiss their mouth, you're not going just and just do on their mouth. You can start by perhaps kiss their eyebrow, and then kiss their nose, touch their hair, touch all around, and then swallow your spit. Swallow your spit now when you're going to kiss. And when you swallow your spit, don't even go in. That's the lip, just like, just go in and kiss a little bit, just go in and kiss the lip. You can even take your teeth, not bite them, but take your teeth and just do like, on the lip, even before you do anything else. That way, you're actually waking up all the erogenous zone, all the zones that are connected to intercourse. And then afterwards, then you can go in for the kiss. But if you don't know the art of kissing, the first thing I could tell you is swallow your spit. Remember, the foreplay is about excitement. And it's about building up the excitement. So now you learn how to touch and you learn how to kiss. That's the two things there. The foreplay is also about oral stimulation. That means, say, you take your hand and you're using your hands to actually stimulate the person in their erogenous zones to get them to the next level. And that is why you must know the art of touching and how to touch. Now, understand that a man gets excited faster than a woman and he becomes prepared faster than a woman. So you might ask, so how long should I involve in preparing this woman for intercourse? You are going to be in the foreplay until that woman is ready. If it takes 20 minutes, that's it. If it takes 30 minutes, that's it. If it takes 10 minutes, that's it. But you want to make sure that you are spending the time preparing the woman. Because when a woman is prepared and when that woman is ready, you don't even have to say a word. You don't even have to ask her, "Gal, you want them? You ready?" You don't have to say any of that. Okay, you like mango? Yes. And guess what? Guess what you're gonna do? She herself, when the woman is ready, she herself will take the thing. You will not have to say anything. And that is how you will know that this woman is amply prepared for intercourse. So your job is to get her ready in the foreplay. And that foreplay is the kissing, is the touching, is the oral stimulation, whatever that looks like. You're doing all of that to get this person ready for the foreplay. Now, what people don't understand is like both men and women like to hear. They're very keen with their hearing, especially for a woman. So if you're a man, during that foreplay, you make sure that you are talking to that woman, that you are telling her things that would help the process of the arousal. So you're not just kissing, you're not just touching, you're not just stimulating, but now you're appealing to the auditory. You're saying things to her. Some people call it dirty talk. You're saying things to her that will really enhance and get her to the stage of readiness. Now, this is crucial and important. That's just the first phase. So, if you've never done the first phase, then that's how people will say you're an amateur. That's how people will determine that you don't understand the game, because the first phase of the thing, you haven't done it. You're not a professional in the first phase. And guess what? Any man who learns the first phase well and can actually prepare that woman and gets her to the height or zenith of excitement, that man will be seen as a connoisseur or a professional in the area of coitus. And so your job then is to strive to make the woman, and for the woman also to make the man. But because men, they can get excited, you don't even have, they just got sometimes they just see the woman and they get excited. For the woman now, based on her past experiences, and you have to understand the impact of what happened to people and how they affect people. Some of the things that happen to people in life make them stiff up. They're very stiff up and tight. And that is why you have to have a foreplay. Because when somebody tight and stiff up, they can't, you gotta relax them. Because in order to have great sex, people gotta be relaxed. And if you're just uptight and stiff and frightened and you want to release yourself and you're there like this, then bet and sure the person who is not relaxed will be the person who will not climax. So your job, first and foremost, in the foreplay is to prepare the person to get them excited for what is to come. All right. So that's foreplay. Let's see anything else. Foreplay. One of the things that you can also do during foreplay is to use that time to explore your partner's body so that you can learn where their erogenous zones are. You can learn which part of their body gets them more excited and make their toes curl up and make them shiver and make them moan and make them groan. So what you do, you explore, you check the ears. Some people, their ears are very sensitive. Other than the erogenous zones that we are all aware of, which are like the vagina, the penis, and the breast, your job is also to explore and to see what other zones. Good night, Natasha. Thank you for being here. Tonight we're talking Girl, Mikey can't there in big people conversation, Rakesh. How Mikey go there in big people conversation? Remember Lango we used to do? Them children got to go in the bed so we can talk about big people conversation. So if you just joined, we're looking at the stages of coitus. And we start with the first stage. Stage of coitus just mean if you're having sex, what are the things that you must do from start to finish so that your partner can really have a very pleasing and an excellent and an orgasmic experience, because that's the end goal. The end goal is for both people to experience the height, for both people to reach the zenith, for both people to be able to say, yes, this was an amazing experience. Both of us climax. That is the end goal of sexual intercourse. All right. So we looked first at the foreplay. This is where you have to get the person excited. We talk about kissing, become a great kisser. We talk about touching. We talk about exploring erogenous zones. That is, try and see if the air is ticklish. I'm not talking about ticklish in the sense of, I'm talking about ticklish in the sense of, that kind of ticklish, right? So you check to see if the ears are ticklish, if there's any zones on the ears. This is a good place to check. The neck is another good place to check. The toes, the finger, the end of the fingers, these are good places to check. So what you're doing is you're exploring the person's body during the foreplay. And we also talk about if you're a person who just goes straight into the second phase of sex, then you're not seen as a good partner who is catering for the needs of your partner. All right. So once we have the first stage, remember, have a conversation, talk with the person, because what you're doing here is you're increasing the blood flow. Your blood flow increasing, lubrication increasing also. Lubrication just means that this is the time when the person is getting wet. And wet is good because wet makes for comfort in sex. If the person is not wet, then they can experience discomfort. And it is during the foreplay that this is happening. All right. So now let's continue. We talk about that. Now let's talk about the main event. Once the person is ready, you will not have to. You see, all these men who say they have to beg and beg and beg their wife, they have to beg their wife. You don't have to beg your wife. You do not have to beg your wife. If you play the game right, your wife will beg you. You get it? If you do the right thing, you start with the foreplay, your wife will beg you. She will not turn her back on you. She will not say, man, not tonight, or whatever is it that she says, because you have engaged in this whole phase and stage correctly. All right, now let's go to the second stage. The second stage is penetration. And we're going to, for this purpose, we're going to talk solely about vaginal penetration, or we can talk about manual penetration. Sometimes, if a man is experiencing erectile dysfunction, it's not the end of the world. That is to say that if his penis is not getting really hard, like it's hardish, softish, like it can't stand upside just like, If it's like that, then guess what? We have in our culture what we say, when you're not a mama, you got for so granny. So if Dana walk, you got your finger in. And you have to learn the art of manual stimulation also. Everything is an art. So if you can't get a real erection because of some kind of dysfunction, but you can understand the art of manual stimulation, then you're good. But it is important that you understand that. Now remember, no penetration until full stimulation. So don't penetrate without the full foreplay. If the foreplay is finished, guess what? You don't have to say to your partner, could I get some? She is going to, and I'm telling you, she will be the person who will say, give me some. During penetration, you're not stopping what you were doing before. You might now have to intensify the stimulation. Talking is very important. Make sure you're communicating your desires, and also make sure that your partner is comfortable with your desires. This is not the time to think about, oh gosh, I want if them try and pick up them clothes, a rain a fall, me left something outside. This is not the time to have those kinds of conversation. You want to be fully vested. You want to be fully in this experience with your partner, and you're not having all these different kinds of conversation. You're focusing on the task at hand, and you're keeping in that moment. All right. Now, this is the time where you can, but sometimes before you get to this stage, you can also, even before you start the whole phase, the stages of coitus, you can ask your partner, what positions are you comfortable with? What positions would you like to try? So that the conversation is clear and people know what is it that you want to do. Because if in the middle, okay, you finish your foreplay, you're now in penetration, you want to try something, but you've not discussed it with your partner, right away you're causing a block. Right away that woman, she turns off because she might feel that I've not consented to this. And so you have to make sure that the communication is open, that you're doing something that she's okay with, she's doing something that you are okay with, that both of you are okay with what is going on in the second phase, which is the penetration. Now, note, penetration can be amazing if there was enough stimulation in the foreplay and there is enough lubrication. Always remember that lubrication equals comfort. Comfort equals excitement. Excitement builds up to orgasmic experience. All right. So now understand, penetration is not always necessary for pleasure. People can get different kind of orgasmic experience. They can get a vaginal orgasm. They can get a clitoral orgasm. That just means that you can get an orgasm by penetration of the penis in the vagina, or you can get an orgasm just by, you see the front part of the vagina there where the clitoris is. If that part is stimulated, you can also get an orgasm. So there's not just one way to get an orgasm, or as we say, it's not one dog named Pampy. Okay, so there's not just a singular way for the person to get an orgasm, but you have to have these conversations and know what the person is okay with. Now, when you are in the middle of penetration and you're doing everything, sometimes for a woman, you don't just have to do penetration, you have to do penetration and stimulation. So remember that while you're penetrating, you're also stimulating the other erogenous zones. That means you touch your body, you touch other place that gets you excited. So that way she will get to the orgasmic experience also. Now remember, not all women will need all of that, but guess what? You are making sure that you're doing all of that. Once you get to climax, and climax is like the that's like the boom of the whole experience. That's when everything just like, whoo, like you reach the top. There's no other place you can go, and then you have this like, I don't even know, like this explosion. All right. And do you know there are people who have never gotten the explosion? And mainly because of people not following the stages and phases of sex. Some women have never experienced that explosion. Once that happens, there is a third period to sex. Don't just turn over, close your eyes, and go on and sleep. Now it comes to this period called the afterglow. And the afterglow is where the body is now coming back to normal. After the experience, the body is now, it's like, think about a big experience. Think like you run a marathon. And now at the end of the marathon, what you're doing is you're coming down back to normal. This is a great time to cuddle your partner, to reassure your partner, especially if they have gone through things in life. This is a time to hold and to cuddle. You can lie down and talk. Don't just turn over and sleep. No matter how tired you're feeling, don't just close your eye, turn over and sleep. Understand also that in our culture, a woman might never even tell you that she doesn't want you to turn over and sleep, because we don't have a culture where people talk like that. And that's why we have this space. And if this is a space where you feel, oh my gosh, this is too much, I'm not comfortable, it's okay. You do not have to be in this space. Remember that. But in that afterglow, that is when you cuddle, that's when you hold, that's when you reassure. Use that as a time to talk. You can even talk about the experience, what you like, what you didn't like. Oh, you can improve the sexual experience. Get to the stage where you can be open and free to talk about the experience. It can also be a time of, you can still kiss, gentle kissing, still touching now, because both of you have just had this really beautiful experience together. And then you're here now. Now the afterglow is when what is called oxytocin is released. That excitement hormone is released. And this part is very important for attachment, especially for women. If you just, when every time you finish with the penetration, you think that's the end of sex and you just turn over and go and sleep, every time you do that, you're detaching, you're separating from the woman. Because more than anything else, it's the woman who needs the afterglow more than the man. She's the one who needs the cuddling. She's the one who needs that reassurance, that hugging, and everything in the afterglow. So you want to make sure that you are catering for her in the afterglow. All right. And that's it, guys. Those are the 3 phases of intercourse. So if you've been having intercourse and you've been skipping the phases, I want you to go back to the front of this video and understand that in order to have really explosive and orgasmic sex, you must ensure that you're engaging in all the stages of sexual intercourse. You must have, as we said, you must make sure that there's the foreplay, which is the preparation of both parties. We talk about what the foreplay entails. Then you must ensure there is penetration. And penetration doesn't have to be, as we said, vaginal only. It can be manual also. And then we have the afterglow. I am telling you, if you can make sure that you truly understand these phases of intercourse and you can truly engage your partner in these phases of intercourse and have deep, open communication, you are going to be having the most amazing sex. All right. Thank you for watching Big People Conversation. This is a place where we come together on Saturday night at 8:30 and we have those hard conversations that we don't really have in our society. A place where we can learn and grow and become better humans. Thank you so much for watching, and until next Saturday night, continue to have great, amazing sex. Ta-ta!